pledge.
You're on speaker.
No.
You better do the pledge.
Why we have to do the pledge?
Pledge allegiance. Someone clapped. Oh,
Comrade Colonel. All right. It's Wednesday, July 19th, 1923. It's 6:32. 2023, whatever.
2023.
And I'm calling to order the
Pizza?
meeting
You're
of
calling the
the
meeting
Newport
order.
Conservation Commission. We'll start by having by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, called to order by. We are called to order. Roll call, starting on my left.
Linda Dennis.
Ken Dennis?
Larry Schissel. Gunter Hubert.
Barry Connell.
Don Shagan. All are counted and present. Okay, agenda review. We before the cameras were rolling, we were handed a document that apparently didn't get, perhaps my mistake, it didn't get incorporated into the published agenda. But hopefully everybody saw their email and reviewed it. In terms of the old business, some things that I wanted us to hopefully have time to get to on news business. Anybody have an addition to the agenda that they'd like or be sure that we cover today? Anything they want should be struck from this? Okay, good. Then I'll take...
Make a motion?
Yep.
Make a motion to accept.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Generally, you don't have to vote on it.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, and we'll have to get this entered into the record somehow. I guess the official record.
That secretary will have to do it.
I'll get it back. Yeah.
See why you stayed?
Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes that were sent out?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take a motion to review the minutes.
Move to accept.
To accept.
Move to accept.
A second. Any changes to what people saw in the minutes from the June meeting? We're all good with it? All in favor of accepting the minutes as they were published? Aye.
We just did.
What?
We just did,
We
but
just voted.
On the minutes?
Was there a second?
We voted on the agenda, I thought.
That's what,
Yes.
Go ahead.
that's where we were, yeah, on the agenda.
Yeah,
But now we got to vote for the minutes, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay. Any second?
second.
All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Point what did I do wrong?
You're anything wrong. I misheard you.
Oh, okay. Did I say agenda though?
I don't
We
know.
voted on the agenda initially.
And then we were doing the minutes.
You need to understand, I have a habit of trying to move this right along.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I can't wait,
We are right
I can't
along
wait to get
because we
to
have
open
been through,
forum.
we have been through the minutes. Okay. Old business. Ms. Donovan was going to distribute copies of the Forest Management Plan of 2018.
Yes.
Why was that a request made for 5 more copies to be made? Who made the request and why?
I don't remember who made the request.
It's
Does
in the
everybody have a
minutes.
copy?
Yeah.
I don't have a copy.
Oh, you don't?
But why do we need
I don't have
individual copies?
Because it's time for us to review it and revise it. Because it has to be revised, or at least reviewed annually.
The management plans?
According to the board, yeah. Would you like me to read it?
So,
The management plan.
Forest Management Plan.
which,
yeah.
but, so you need to specify then. The management plan,
The trimming of the trees and
I mean, the management plans were done by Meadow Send. Is that something different you're talking about?
Well, there's supposed to be a forest management plan. I'm assuming the one that was done before any of us were
By Meadow Send?
was
Yeah.
considered a forest management plan, right?
Yeah. Why would that have to be updated?
It calls for it in the deed. So the management plan shall be reviewed and updated annually. And the grantee shall supply drafts of the management plan and all its annual updates to grantor and all abutting property owners in a timely manner for their review and comments. Now, I know that's never been done, right?
Now, that
But-
At
is
least
the
I shouldn't say
deed,
never, and it hasn't since I've been on the board.
question, that is the deed of the Barton property,
Yes, it
correct?
is.
And I'm not sure, actually, now that I think about it, because I was aware this was going to be done, this forest management plan may not include the Barton property.
that was, we did that separately for
This is the town forest and the Maple
Maple
Street.
Maple Street. Yeah. So there's
So it
probably-
doesn't, so the logging that was done prior to my getting on the commission, was that done according to some management plan?
That was
No.
done due to storm. That had nothing to do with the management plan. That was blowdown when we had the mini tornado come through and had a blowdown. So they just, the town managed that. Then we did this a few years ago.
So this doesn't include anything on the board?
I don't
This-
think,
Yeah, that doesn't.
So then we're remiss because we're supposed to have it.
Well, that's, I mean, that's what I was saying, is we don't have one.
I
We
thought
haven't
all
had
along
one.
that was
We
it.
don't have had one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that may be an action item for the,
it's very expensive though, so,
Who's the
but-
grantee and grantor?
I think the grantee is is us, is the town.
Okay.
And the grantor is whoever's named as the grantor.
but
Okay,
I just,
all those in favor?
Would you like to read it?
No, I just don't know who the grantor is.
I don't, I think it's the Bartons.
Okay.
yeah.
Separate.
And
yeah,
heirs.
nothing to do
and
with
for
it.
different purposes.
Yeah, with different purposes.
Now,
This is-
in an effort to minimize paper to be taken home by each of us or future members, Christina is going to put together a binder with some of these documents so that they're available in the office if people want it. But of course,
So then, I guess what I would say is, and I've not looked, but is there an original management plan to?
I don't know. I've never come across one. But I haven't
would
dug through all
assume that-
those files.
I would assume that that was the one that needs to be looked at every year.
Because it says any logging producing timber or firewood, clearing of trees or brush for the scenic overlook, the pinnacle, trail construction or maintenance, constructed of any permitted structures, development on the spring on the property, blah, 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 has to be done according to the management plan. The management plan, as far as I read, it doesn't say anything about it having to be done by a professional forester. It just says a management plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we have guidelines for the Barton property, am I correct?
Yes.
Well, we have the deed, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and in the deed, it offers guidelines as to
Yes.
what, isn't that a management plan? All those in
It said,
favor?
Yeah, because I'm wondering if you're putting tree cutting into management plan the way I think Barry's headed to what's spelled out in the deed, the recreational, the trails, the, us walking the boundaries every year. Whether that's the management plan
To me, that would
they
be the
say
plan.
needs to be revised.
Or you extrapolate that from the deed and put it on a piece of paper and say Barton Management Plan.
Well, we may want to do some research and see if there's somewhere in the archives an original management plan when the deed was granted.
it says it has to be updated every 5 years. I'm sorry. It's a 5-year management plan.
Okay.
The plan shall be reviewed and updated annually. And it covers all remove, I mean, to me, this is not a plan.
No.
No.
This is a requirement for a plan.
Yeah.
So,
Is that the deed?
this is the deed, yeah.
Okay, so, but if you extrapolate out of that what's in the deed and relate that and maybe add to it, that would be a management plan. And
The
do the
deed is
Bartons
just
have
sort
to
of
review that?
the deed, as I understand, mostly specifies the uses, like
Right.
there'll be
Isn't that
non-commercial.
management? Yeah.
It says the management plan, including but not limited to provisions for the maintenance or regulation of the following. So maintenance or regulation of the following, and what I just read: logging, brush removal or timber for the scenic overlook, trail construction, which we know that wasn't done by any management plan, right?
So we should look.
Signage,
see if there's
yeah.
something, at least give us some guidelines.
And I would take that to mean, once a year we say,
Like still
find
go
out
over it.
if, are there plans for new trails or trail cutting, and are there plans for any brush removal? Do we personally have plans to, recommend some selective log removal or something like that? And that would probably be something, would fill out a plan more completely.
Well, I think we could write it.
Yeah.
Maybe a subgroup or something does
There
that.
you get.
I think the Barton land is included in this. It's included as the town forest.
That's what I thought. I thought it was just the lump of land that's up.
Well, no,
On
she
the other
divided it out, but
Yeah, because
but it is part of the Barton property. It says Newport Recreation Area and Barton Lot. So it is in here.
But again, it's not entirely to what I think that statement is.
Exactly. So it wasn't done for that purpose. That's the trouble.
So Larry
like
put
that,
on
you know,
future
trimming.
topics and initiatives. Sounds
Well,
like
we might
got
want
one.
to, this might be a good time to get a subcommittee, somebody to, look into whether there was ever an original plan for the Barton parcel specifically, and then maybe if also come back to us with recommendations about how we should move forward, if it's just to
Well, I'm
work
sure there are
this
good
management plan
recommendations.
or write a
I'm sure there are good recommendations in there. It's
Yeah.
just finding out exactly where it is.
Well, I thought that's why we were all looking for a copy of that, so we could read it and then
Well, that's fine.
fulfill the obligation to
I don't
update it
remem-
annually.
Yeah.
Well, it might be,
So,
it certainly is good stuff to know, but again, if for people who don't want the paper, Christina said she was going to put together a folder for these things, so. Anybody interested in being a sole subcommittee or a subcommittee of a couple?
So,
Just-
you mean like isn't one person?
Well, why don't we find out if they've got it in the files first, or something to the effect of that?
It can be quite hard to find anything in our files.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, how about for an action for next month? I would recommend Dawn, just because you're kind of far into it.
It's not on it.
Why don't we first ask Christina?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
but have Dawn sort of the point person on this.
Yeah, he can talk to Christina.
Yes.
Excuse me,
You can
Excuse me,
decline if
Mr.
you'd like.
Chair?
you can,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Maybe to help you decide, in the minutes of June 21st, it says distribute copy of forest management plan, discuss Barton deed requirements, postponed to July meeting. You could always kick the can
Yeah.
and not put anybody on the spot.
Well, I'd like to get a copy of that plan to go through it and see what I read.
But it looks
Yeah,
pretty
well-
lengthy. I mean, is that
It
the entire
is.
plan?
Well, no, it includes Maple Street. Town Forest and Maple Street
did anything with Main Street.
is 121 pages.
I mean, it really would be good for all of us to become knowledgeable and informed on what called for the town forest. I mean, how many people?
I thought everybody had it. I thought she was just making more copies. That's what I find, is that every time we turn around, she's making,
Yeah, we don't need more paper.
I don't need it.
Right,
I don't need it, so.
But we do need to be familiar with what's in there, I think.
I'm not questioning that. I was questioning why we would need
Why?
Yeah.
5 more copies, you know,
Yeah.
for each one of us sitting at the table.
Okay, well, let's, why don't I propose then that we just table this to next month, and we won't appoint anybody in particular, but perhaps any interested people can kind of run to the file cabinet and look and see if there's any original information on the Barton parcel specifically with that looks something like a management plan.
If I can interject, Larry, too, I think thanks, Linda. I think the NRI should touch base on some of that as far as value, things in the Barton property that are a specific value. So that could add to the management plan. So maybe we do a concurrent with the NRI. Makes sense? I see you scowling.
I'm just trying to follow what is it you're trying to accomplish there?
Well, the NRI that Moosewood will
Yeah.
be doing for us may bring out things that
Values.
should be or are valued.
Valuable things of
Yeah, in the
Barton
Barton property
that
that-
we may want to look
Right.
at differently
Okay.
than we have.
I see.
Right. So we want to consider before we write a management. So maybe we want to do them concurrently,
Oh, I see what you're saying. So then, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the
Discuss
NRI
it.
is going to give us a lot of information, I would think.
Yeah, not just on the
Please.
Barton property,
Right.
but also, but
Right.
Townwide.
right townwide.
Townwide.
Well, and as we, and now I understand where you're going with that, and that makes sense. We're going to be communicating a lot with Jeff Littleton, so we could make sure that he knows that we want to, from the NRI, know what some goals for or plans for the town
Plans
forest.
for the town Barton property.
Okay, we'll discuss this still in August, just to keep it on the docket.
Sounds good.
Okay, the next was the Raymond Holden easement. So I went to the Registry of Deeds, and I'm not sure I got everything that was available. But there is, in fact, a conservation easement deed and a fiduciary deed. The fiduciary deed was drawn up June, or at least signed, June 28, 2011, by Jerry and Priscilla Hagerbush. And there are 4 tracts of land. Each tract has its own unique survey, but these 4 tracts all seem to be in that area, which would be east of Hurd Road and south of Blueberry Ridge. The area that is in question, that we did not know about. So,
The 4 tracks, that's what's got me.
yeah,
That's
there are 4 tracts.
Added up to the 9 acres.
Well, I didn't do
So,
that math, but some of these tracks are not that small, not that great. Track 2 warranty. I should have highlighted them like you did, Don, so they'd be very clear. But most of these tracks are like 2 acres, 2.5 acres, so they probably in aggregate add up to that. Yeah. Said parcel, tract 4, about 2 acres, more or less. Said tract contains, this is tract 3, about 4 acres. Where are we? We're up to 6. Tract 2, more or less, 9 acres. Now we're up to
That's the one that we
14,
we questioned on
15.
the other side of Hurd Road was the 9 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's another tract, some 34 acres. So I'm not completely sure. I was having trouble reading it, but I could get a copy to everybody on
What's
this.
the date on that, Larry?
This is 2000, June 28, 2011. Now, the Yeoman's conservation easement was 1991. And that was the land that we want and knew about. So,
So there's more to the mystery then if we got
So
more
there is.
tracts of
Larry,
land.
just a quick question, is that the deed to the properties or is that a conservation deed?
well, this is what I can't quite follow, and I just went to the registry and got what they had. There is a something that was recorded 2006, February 22, and this is a conservation easement deed. But this has no reference to the land. This is all the terms of the conservation easement. Use limitations, that property shall not be subdivided, reserved rights. You know, it's all the legal ease that goes with.
What they wrote into
So this is not.
land.
But there is a deed from 1991, which I think we all have anyway, which was, or a survey from 1991 on the original land. So,
Yeah,
Well,
well,
he
that's the
actually
Yeoman.
has 4 parcels. And I'm not sure that's what you're referring to, but, so he has the one that's on the west side of Hurd Road.
there's one on the west side of Hurd Road, which sort of abuts their home property.
And the Black's property.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
That
one
I know.
immediately across the street from the house that goes up to the wells.
Yeah, and it sort of is a triangle fit in with Satterley Road.
Right, there's this
So that's
Raymond
2.
Goldman easement deed.
Yeah, but what's the 4th?
And do you know where their name is not Wells, but the house that's across the street from Yeoman's, or the Hagenbush is a little bit up the road.
Yeah.
Immediately across the street is a field.
Yeah, that's the.
That actually belongs to the Hagenbushes now. So that would be a 4th parcel that they own. But I don't know if that's, I'm just
Yeah.
pointing that out.
I'm thinking
What happened was
34.
that field they bought from
The house
the people that
Had the
have the
house.
Wells property.
across the street.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll submit this for everybody's approval. We can get more copies if people are interested. I think there's more
this
information down at the registry, but that's,
More paper.
you know,
Does that make sense that, I think that original parcel is 34 acres or so. The 9 acres that we've discovered across the way.
That could.
Probably an acre or less for the little field that they just got. You know what I mean?
But that falls
They
under
seem
the Wells
Originally.
easement. it's covered by the Wells easement, even though it's owned
Oh,
by the
that,
Hager.
Okay.
so that's right.
That makes it a little
Big.
confusing.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But Hager Bush had a garage across the street from their current house.
Yeah. I apologize. Track 1 of these 4 tracks is the one that is the slice of pie in between Satterley Road and Blueberry Ridge, and that's the one that is more or less 34 acres.
Yeah. that's-
Is that a 34 acres?
I think
So
it's
we,
like 20.
so we already have that. That's already.
But it's
in-
track 2, 3, and 4 are the ones that combine to about 15 acres or so, which is that
Well, I think that's right
unknown
then.
piece.
Well, I think we're overthinking this a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got three conservation, there's a conservation deed on that triangular piece between
Correct.
Satterley and
Yeah.
Blueberry Ridge, or whatever that is, I can't
Right.
remember. There's the one that abuts their house,
Correct.
the Blackstone, and then there's this one, Raymond Holden easement.
But, which is the one we were never really completely aware of, and the land conservation heritage. No, yeah,
They have nothing.
The-
They have nothing to do with this.
right, and it's not being monitored by the
Everything except that lot.
by Charlotte Harding and her
No.
group, which is
So it's the town. The town is the one that holds the
That's
interest
what we
in
went for.
protecting it.
Yeah.
How's that? So really, the town has the. I mean, I guess we.
Right.
I don't know.
That's how we all
are the
start-
ones who should be
That's how we
monitoring
started
it.
talking about it.
Right.
When
so. The
we
question
said-
is, do we want to get out there sometime soon? We are. It'll be on the later in the agenda, but we're supposed to do our annual reports on a couple of
Yeah.
properties.
So this we don't
This
have to
fall.
do. This one we don't have to do an annual report on.
No.
The Raymond Holden.
But do we want to walk it
I
sometime?
think we should.
It has not been
Should know-
walked.
should
And
know the
Jerry-
property.
Yeah.
That's
Jerry-
where we started talking about putting the tags and
Right.
stuff, tagging the boundaries.
Right. So Jerry said he knew the property boundary.
He was
Oh, I'm sure he
So-
does. Yeah.
Then we could.
We walked the rest of this.
But I'm inclined to put this off until fall, like we did last year.
Right.
I don't know if everybody agrees, but
I do.
Something.
Yeah, well, and the New Hampshire Society for the Protection of Forests has sent us a memo that they're looking for their annual reports, so
Which
could
we do in the
probably-
fall.
We
Right,
could
I think
dovetail
that-
it with them. Okay, good.
so the only remaining issue, from what I see, with the Raymond Holden easement is there is language in this conservation easement that the town holds that is inappropriate because it refers to the LCIP
And it doesn't.
and they
Yeah.
have no interest in it. So I don't know if you remember last time we talked
Yeah.
about going to the select board with it
And it's getting that removed.
and trying to get that removed.
Is that in the deed?
It's in the deed, yes.
Okay. But the
But
deed,
that's
we
what
don't,
He notified Charlotte, and she looked it up and said, "We got nothing to do with this, and we don't
Right.
want anything."
But
And
that's
the
the
forest,
deed
the
we-
Forest Society came back to her and said they had this
And that's
long
the
history of
Yeomans, right?
a discussion with the town,
This is
and the town said, we're gonna write our
Yeoman's
own deed.
estate. Track
Forest Society said.
but that's the deed we don't
track
have.
two.
No, that is this deed.
Oh,
And they
okay.
included the L-chip name
I
in
see.
here,
Okay.
Shouldn't have been.
and it shouldn't have been, right.
Well, then we should go,
Wells.
Barry can bring that back to the board, no? We have to present to the board,
Yeah.
Barry?
We're still trying to figure out land, how much, what's the property, sir, B&K Wells land? What's that?
That's the one
Well,
across the street.
that's the
Right.
one across
Is that the one that's in, we don't know about, or?
No.
Because
That's
this
the one
says,
from
we
the-
do know that, that's 46 acres,
Yeah.
right?
That's the one from the little house up the
you
house
have
in
Hurd
Bonn
Road
up.
on this?
Across
Or
from
where's
the-
the one
This
that,
is-
where's the
Hurd Road.
corner of Satterley?
This is Hurd Road.
Yeah,
This one says Brook Road, but
yeah, see Hurd Road?
yeah,
The land that we weren't familiar with, that we
Right.
had, is over here.
yeah, this is across the street as well.
So the question
So,
would be, I mean,
yeah.
we could do nothing
Yeah.
about this, but
For clarity, it should probably
Yeah.
be changed. I
Right.
don't know how that happened. So, Barry?
I wonder where is it on like a tax map? Is that
it's right here.
It's on a tax
somebody
map.
paying it?
Oh, yeah, there's paying taxes on it.
So why do we have to worry?
I think it's just the clarity of the original deed says that the land
Gotcha.
easement was purchased through L-chip money,
It wasn't.
and it wasn't. And
So you want to have it removed?
The
I don't know how a deed gets.
language, the language about L-chip needs to be removed from what Don's looking at now.
It's
That's
as
all.
simple as getting,
That's all. We just got to remove some.
acting through the land conservation investment program, getting that out. It's as simple as eliminating, I think, that sentence probably. But I think you have to involve a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably would. Huh?
Okay.
It may not be worth it, and it might be a small enough thing, but
Just so long as somebody can pass this knowledge on to future
but
generations.
it probably would be good to get to the get up to the level of the board just for the purpose.
Yeah, I don't
of
want to go to a
saying-
lawyer.
Add an
No.
addendum page
Let's spend
that
it.
says, could we add an addendum page that says exactly what language should not be there?
Since the town
could be-
owns
that would
the
be a good idea.
easement deed,
You know
Like an
what I'm saying?
addendum, yeah.
it might be just worth at some point, or maybe I could go to the next meeting and at public forum just say, hey, by the way, you ought to be just aware.
I'd let you speak before Bert.
Thank you.
What's a couple hundred?
Why don't we leave it like that? I'll try to get to the. I will take it upon myself to get to the next meeting. I'll get a copy of that deed because I don't have it from.
If we
I
can
think
at
it's
least-
worth a couple $100 to
If-
pay a lawyer to
Yeah.
get the language properly.
Well,
in it,
it's
you know?
up to
Then
the
you will
board
have to
to decide
register-
whether
you have
you
to
want
go to the registry.
That'd be up to the board of selectmen,
Yeah,
though. We
'cause
should
it's not.
Right.
just make
Yeah.
them aware.
Right.
So
And that's
I'll,
what I was saying. Can Barry, can you bring that back, or do you need the majority of the board to go one night and ask for that request?
I don't think this has to be a vote or anything. And what I said is I'll take it on my shoulders to go to the next meeting. In a public forum, on behalf of the Conservation Commission, I will bring up this issue just to notify the board of
That there is a discrepancy.
that there's a discrepancy in the
And
deed.
do we want to settle that?
Yeah, or we want to,
Clarify
at the
that.
pleasure of the board of select persons, what do you want to do about this?
We would like to clarify your mistake.
But
The board of selectmen were the ones that wrote up that.
No,
But-
according to Shirley Harding and the Society for Protection of New Hampshire Forests, it was Dan O'Neill who insisted that they don't listen to the Forest Society.
Don't listen to it.
And
That
do it on their
sounds,
own.
that sounds about right.
but
I've got all the emails and everything, so
Oh, that's good. So the
all
paperwork
the
is all
information is attached to it.
could we add that the Conservation Commission would be responsible for monitoring it? I mean, put words in there that it's
Do we take over responsibility?
right, rather than the
Who
town.
assigned this responsibility for the other properties?
Well, because they're L-chip.
L-chip only.
But does that mean the Conservation Commission has to be the one that monitors?
Yes,
it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But we don't do Maple Street because that's town.
Well, there's other
There's
properties that are in conservation in this town.
Yeah.
That we
have
don't.
our easements.
Yeah, 'cause we don't.
We don't have.
'Cause we don't have the responsibility.
L-chip money in it. That's the only reason why you get.
So Larry, you're going to come to the meeting
I'll
and confuse
bring,
us.
yeah, I'll bring this up and
But is there a way to make, to have the Conservation Commission responsible for the easement? Monitoring and so forth?
I think what you're asking is, should we
Does
go?
the town
should
own
we
that?
go further?
Does
Yes,
the town own that piece?
No.
yes.
the town does not own
No.
this land.
We don't
Not this,
Oh.
not this
It's
one.
owned
We
by,
don't
Not
own it.
Raymond Home.
So
We don't
I don't
own
know
the
why we
land.
have anything to do with
It
it.
just has the
own
easement
the easement.
as part of the property.
We own the easement.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, that's what I'm saying, that the Conservation Commission would be
If we own
responsible
the
for.
easement, very simple
what I
declarative
would
statement.
suggest if I go to the meeting, then what I would also suggest is that we will take it under our umbrella to do monitoring as we monitor the 4 parcels
So,
already.
and then all those in favor of allowing
And-
the Conservation Commission to monitor that area?
And we'll just add it to as a 5th parcel that we
Yeah,
want.
okay.
Boundaries. Ken?
Was it originally brought in here because didn't Hagerbush want us to walk the boundaries? All right, so he's
Oh, he'd
He's
like us-
assuming.
I believe he'd like us to tax it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's a little bit more to it than just eliminating some words, and if we
Yeah.
need to monitor, so if he's asking us at least to monitor the boundary lines, and we talked about putting the tags, that's how all of that started that night.
Should he make an official request?
I'm not completely sure he made a request as such. I think he kind of said, what about the other property?
When we did our inspection last fall,
He came out.
he
and said,
said that land across the road is in a conservation easement. And I said, I know nothing about it. And he just contacted me and sent me a copy of.
So he probably was assuming that because it was a conservation easement, the Conservation
Yeah,
Commission
we
would
take
have
care of it.
responsibility.
Yeah.
But I don't think that gets conveyed from the town to us properly. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Perfectly, I think.
Yeah.
We've outlined a way to deal with it.
Yeah, I think when we go, I'll bring it to the board of select persons and not only ask them to consider what they want to do with the language in the deed, but that we'd like to take it under our auspices to monitor that property as we monitor the other four
Yeah.
easements.
Can't imagine anybody voting against that.
Well, I think, and to go further, I think that the commission should be involved with a lot more of the town-owned properties. So,
Although, again,
Like
that
Maple.
land, those parcels that we discussed once before that are
Right,
not.
Yeah.
they're
exactly.
not- They're just town-owned property.
Right,
But it's in a
Conservation
ordinance that
easement.
says these are conservation
That's right.
properties.
So-
So should we be monitoring?
that's
them?
right. I believe we should.
Well,
But-
the little islands in the Sugar River.
Yeah,
There's two little islands that the last town manager said absolutely not. We
Yeah.
don't need the Conservation Commission involved with that.
exactly.
I mean, what's a better place for us to watch is either
Well-
the erosion right now. We might not have islands out there anymore.
Do we want to talk about this more at a future
The
meeting?
next meeting? Yeah.
Well,
I
I'm
want-
just
I'm-
connecting it to say that there's more issues that we should be able to bring to the selectmen.
Well, I think you could mention that very directly, and that you'll be coming back to talk about other properties
Other
that are
conservation,
owned by the town.
other
that maybe
easements.
What I'd
should
like
be
is,
monitored.
if it's worthy of discussion, let's put it on an agenda
Okay.
and maybe also come forward with a list
Next
of,
month.
yeah. But I'd like to nominate maybe Linda to kind of put together a list of those properties that.
Okay.
Well, we
Yeah,
have them.
Oh, yeah.
I
Christina
know,
gave
but
us
the
some.
specific ones that we aren't,
Sorry.
Work's been done for me.
That's why she.
but specifically the ones you're talking about that we aren't monitoring that we could.
Easy
Be
peasy.
glad
No
to-
problem, Larry.
That's right. I took one away
I have a
from
day
there,
job.
so, all right, good.
You know, because we got Maple Street. I mean, there's a few that we've probably.
Yeah, okay, well, let's put that on the agenda
Yeah.
for next month, talk about the properties. Draft letters to concerned Barton parcel abutters. I sent out a revision as I kind of remember people thought the original letter should say some things. Hopefully people looked through it and found that it's pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, I think there's some punctuation, but that's it.
Okay, well,
Well, did you get a copy of the final document
I thought
on the
this
town's
was.
letterhead?
Oh, no. On the letterhead? No.
Right, I did more at the beginning of the meeting.
Is it this one that you're talking about?
yeah,
Or
that was
is
supposed
it-
going to come in our
We never
packet.
got a
Or is it
copy
this
of
one?
that.
Yeah,
Never got
the first one.
The first one.
So we still
Yeah,
have
right.
copies of the rough draft
Yeah.
that
Right.
Larry sent out by email.
Right.
But you also
Yeah.
sent it in the email too.
That's what I'm referring to because
Yeah, it's the
we were going to get that
Yeah.
each a copy in the packet on the town letterhead, but it didn't get to our
Okay.
packet.
But-
And the format needs to be changed
Uh-huh.
because it
Yeah.
says sincerely, and then you're going into your footer, there's gonna be no name on here.
Uh-huh,
So
okay.
I will talk with Christina about
Do you do that in Word or in PDF?
You do it in
more-
Word.
Yes. Word
Okay.
is the.
Can we
Would you like to pass this around?
People could look at it and actually just put your comments, if you see the punctuation or whatever,
But,
scribble your changes right there on
Are
that.
you better at punctuation than me?
Hopefully.
Are you? Could you do
Did you
that
read?
then? There's just a comma or two that I noticed. Okay.
Well, that's what he's.
I know, but I have to go. I have to sit quiet and go through it.
And can I ask, is that on the Conservation Commission letterhead?
Yes, it is.
Okay. We didn't know if it was the towns or.
Okay. So essentially, except for a comma here or there, people were fine with this going out.
And
with-
Maura has volunteered to do the punctuation.
And this will, my thought was this letter was only going to go to the folks who
Came to the meeting.
interested in coming to the meeting, so they know that, okay, good. I don't know that requires a vote that this goes out, or should it? No, okay.
I don't think.
There was also a draft letter that we're going to just keep in the file that would go out
Yeah,
from
I-
time to time to alert people that we will be doing a walk about the conservation properties. And that's a pretty straightforward thing, I think. People were fine with that.
Did you, Larry, I don't know, did you consider my comment about putting in something about one of the members of the party should have ID? Namely, vests?
I do remember you sending that to me, but I didn't change anything. Would you explain just quickly for people what you, or did you send that out to everybody on that email?
I don't think
Just
so.
for everybody's
No,
edification.
I don't think so.
I think Don,
I think we did it by text, Larry. I think that
yeah.
Sorry. So my thought was the letter should include the statement about if there's a party out that they're going to be
Here we come.
wearing our ID of some sort, like the
The
vest,
best. Yeah.
or if we ever decided to have like tags or something like that. So at least one member of the party should be
Yeah.
wearing identification.
And should we put that in the letter, do you think, or is that?
Just simply state one, there will
At
be
least
one of the
one per-
members. at
one
least
mem-
one will
okay.
Have identification.
Okay.
Group will be identified as conservation members.
Say one
All
or
right.
more.
And, okay, there's no urgency about getting that done because we're just going to keep in the file. So I will add,
Don't we want to walk that boundary? We talked about walking that boundary in April. I think it was April.
Before the black flies, I
Yeah,
believe.
exactly.
Now you got more problems than black flies.
What I could have done.
More like
Okay.
mud season.
member with ID.
Yep.
And I'll just send that back around just to make sure people like the way I
Brass.
would
Brass badges.
Yeah. Each one with a number.
Epaulets and,
in your badge,
and
Dennis.
scrambled eggs. Okay, good. That's another one done.
I have a comment under new business. Can I add? Can I go quick?
Wait,
Well, I'm not sure.
Oh,
now we know.
The chair will recognize you, Linda.
Thank you.
Your question is, or your comment is?
Yes, this is to Barry. The search committee for a new town manager is set.
Yes.
Were we not invited, a member from the Conservation Commission, to be on that search committee?
It did not come out that way, that we wanted somebody on the conservation.
How many?
That did not come up. Should it?
Well, I think so. Biddy is on the committee.
Yeah.
She's from the Heritage Commission, or is she a private citizen?
Citizen,
She's a private citizen?
yes.
Yeah. But she's also on the Heritage Commission.
Yeah. But she's there as a private citizen.
Okay.
Okay.
But,
Well, let's
Is
get
there
back
any-
to that in a minute, because we had a chance to put it on you, and I want to get this. I'll do other business at the very end, and we'll get back to it.
future
okay?
topics and initiatives, all right.
All right. Just to keep us on track with the agenda as we have it. Okay, letter to the planning board, North Newport excavation, possible wetland degradation. So I'd expanded this a little bit. So I did write a letter to David Burnham, but actually it probably turns out that it was more appropriate to bring our concern about the excavation on North Newport to the Board of Select. My understanding is that that came up at the
It did,
Board of Select,
meeting.
and what was the plan, or how was that issue?
The issue was stated that Christina will make a visit to the land and find out what's going on there.
In fact, I think she sent out a letter to
She did.
ask for permission,
Permission.
of the owner. I don't know if she's got a response on that
Did
yet.
she send a letter?
I believe
Yeah.
she did.
Why wasn't she CC'd or something?
She probably could also.
Does she have to send a letter to ask for permission?
Can we take a step back, Larry, and describe our discussion with her in her office?
I'll
So
answer
much
Linda's
more-
question first. I think that a letter is sent primarily because you really can't go on property without permission. I think with a letter, and in fact a registered letter that has been signed for and the return slip, there's good documentation that the owner of the lot gave permission for us to go on, or as somebody to go on and look around and ask questions about what's going on. So I think that's the purpose, just to have a paper trail.
And she also did, one of you might have brought up the wetlands aspect,
Yeah.
and she can use that as a method to get on
Yeah.
the land.
We discussed
And I want
that one night, too.
to get to that in a moment. Don, your question or your comment was?
Well, I just, for everybody's information, because I'm not sure everybody knows, Larry and I went in to talk to Christina. I wanted to show Larry the mailbox of the Conservation Commission so he can, from now on, check that.
In his own mail?
Handing it off.
Yeah.
So while we were here, we talked to Christina about the letter to the planning board regarding this topic. And Christina said she didn't know what to do. She had no idea how to manage this. So I suggested that she called, well, I asked, doesn't the town have a lawyer that it can consult with to find out? And she got on the phone and called. And the lawyer advised her to write a letter, document it, request,
Permission to
Permission.
go on the property.
and if he denies, then they go and get basically it's a warrant.
Yeah. Search.
So I just wanted to let you know we had that conversation
Oh,
with her.
okay.
And she did do her homework
On
by
that
talking
end
to
of
the
it.
lawyer to
Yeah.
find out what she needed to do.
So
Now, the plot is thickening. With all the rain, I even took a picture from the highway on my cell phone, but there is runoff coming off,
the dirt's coming right out.
and it's going into what was marked out as a wetland. And I talked with the surveyor who was hired by the owner, and the surveyor said that there was in fact wetlands that were staked out, and that was the area where all the pines were cut. So, regardless of what transpires with the ability to go in and inspect the excavation area, we may want to pursue through regular channels with the state whether wetlands
Well, the other
have
thing
been
was
degraded.
with the wellheads down there, that also was a major concern, having gravel
It's
excavation
well within
and
the sort of
scope of what we're
What they
looking
call
at.
the aquifer and the
protection
wellhead.
area.
So,
There's a 1,000-foot radius, I believe, from the well.
I'm
So-
just saying, that's a concern, not only of us, because I'm not sure where we go with
Well, I think
the
that needs to be
gravel.
addressed by the
Needs to be
planning board or the select
Yeah.
board via zoning.
Yeah.
I'll go for the,
Zoning.
But I think in this case, maybe a complaint should be filed
That's
with the state, like,
that's what it was, DES, DES or something.
we're actually talking about two
different-
at least two separate things. We're talking about what looks to be a sand and gravel pit operation. There's certainly excavation going on, and that needs to be a permitted use of the land. and no permit was requested in at Christina's office. And then the second is that if in fact there are wetlands there, it looks like some of those are being degraded now.
Degraded as a result of the
Gravel pit.
gravel pit.
Sand washing off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this
Maybe
as simple
extraordinary,
as
you
them
know,
taking mitigation
biblical rains we've had. And
steps.
so I don't know. I think this might be worth a vote. What is the pleasure of this commission that we pursue a what do they call that when you write up a ticket like they did on John Stark Highway?
I don't
It's
know
not a
the form.
complaint per se, but
Is
write
that
up a ticket.
mean like a cease and desist?
No.
No, I'm talking
No,
about
formal
request.
contacting
Formal
DES.
request to-
Christina has a form,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's what was filled out
Yeah.
for the one over on the.
But
dog
this
park
would be
model.
to request DES to go out, inspect what are wetlands. They're not on New Hampshire's map, but again, the owner's own surveyor identified wetlands.
So we're not 100% sure they're wetlands even.
Yeah,
No, but I
it
think
wasn't.
I think if the state has the capacity to come out and look, I think we should file a,
So I think anyone
A
can
request.
can file the complaint through Christina,
okay.
because that's how it was done last time. Christina, because the person that wanted to file a complaint wanted it done anonymously. Excuse me. Christina actually filled it out and submitted it to the state.
So why don't we do it as the commission?
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
can do that.
we're asking, yeah.
All right, I'll take a motion on that. Anybody want to move?
I'll make a motion that Christine fills out the form upon our request to
On behalf of the
DES.
commission to investigate the North Newport presumed wetlands.
Presumed
And-
wetlands,
Yeah,
not the excavation.
okay, anyone
No.
second?
Okay.
I'll
Do we have a
I'll
second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so action item is to file DES complaint, I guess. We'll call it complaint
Call it
for
what it
lack
is.
of work. Okay, good. But I'd like to follow up at the next monthly meeting and find out if, in fact, the owner responded, whether that land has been surveyed or, you know, a walkabout, and what has happened after that. Next item, follow up with PJ Lovely, use of the town forest and barn property. I put Don because Don communicated with PJ.
So I'm assuming everyone saw my email to PJ. PJ responded by text because I didn't have PJ's immediate or his direct email, so I sent it to the rec department. It went to Beth, and then so anyway, PJ's response was, well, just to kind of paraphrase, the email was about whether or not there was camping and the restrictions, touched base on the restrictions. Camping in the Barton property, his response was there was no camping near the Pinnacle or on the Barton property. 4 people spent the night near the ski jump, 2 in vehicles, 1 in a tent, and 1 in a hammock. Had a light turnout, blah, blah, blah. He didn't, so they were down by the ski jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, from my perspective, that's fine. I don't see
Nothing to do with us.
He did say his plan is not to have future events too big. He said if you don't want us camping, then he will stop that. He said I'll sort that out. So, but I don't personally see a problem with what he did as long as he keeps it in that area.
I think it's the same thing. It goes back to so long as we can communicate what he's
Yeah.
doing. It's not. I don't think it's a violation in the
Town forest.
language of
And camping-
Martin.
Is not specifically for boating on
that's
the
what I'm
Pinnacle
saying.
property. It's just by
Permission of the town.
permission, yeah,
That's what I
for
pointed out to him. It's by
each
permission.
event. So,
Who's the town? Is that, can PJ say, I approve camping? Because he works for the town?
Yeah.
Probably not, right?
No.
Probably
we
should
know
be
he
the
does a
town
good
manager.
job. He's pretty respectful of Forest, but
Yeah.
we're trying to keep things
Yeah.
just,
But that only covers the Barton property. It doesn't cover the town forest.
Right.
and it would cover the Johnson property, I guess. Is that true also?
I haven't read the deed recently.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to read that deed.
Specifically from the deed, okay.
He did also, if I can add, bring up the fact that the boardwalk by the high school something needs to be done with that.
Should we
Can
put
we
that
do-
on a
can
future
you review that right
item to
now?
discuss?
I doubt it.
Um,
You have the school department take care of
Now again, is that something that the
A school project?
prior board did just as a nicety? Or is that somewhere written that we are to take care of that?
It was done through a grant
Well,
I
I
know
realize that, but the,
back when Nancy Parson was.
yeah, and then they used to
chairperson.
maintain it. But is it because they were doing, I'm going back to the trees on the common, you know? They always took care of all the
it.
trees.
There is a simple solution. When school's in session, we just ask
Sam,
Sam, can you help take care of it?
sounds good, but my question also is.
Yeah,
Whose
it's
responsibility?
a good question.
Is it a real, is it our responsibility to say, hey, Sam, could you do our work? Or is it the Board of Selectmen's now to say, hey, Sam, could you do our highway work?
It originally was built with monies from a grant. Who,
I
do
think
you
it was
know
under the
anything
guise
more
of
about the
education,
grant?
you
Who
know.
went and applied for the grant and who was
I-
sort of managing the
I
Who
thought,
received the money?
expenditures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you for sure.
All right. Well,
It's back 30 some odd years ago.
Yeah. That long ago.
I thought it had something to do, if I remember right, it had something to do with Ted Nibley's science class. And so it was the school, but I think it was, the town probably got the grant or whatever, but
Okay.
Well, PJ's approach is, just for everybody's knowledge, is he's willing to help us if we.
Right.
because I can elaborate on that as well. What I'm trying to say is, way back when, with Nancy Parsons and that group, they were very good about maintaining stuff that I know didn't belong to them. And then when that dissolved, my department got asked to help some of the volunteers that were still willing to do it. And then when we took over parks end of thing, that was on the buildings department. On the park, because it was a boardwalk and needed to be fixed. On the parks end of it, when I took over the parks and cemeteries, PJ was kind of asked to take care of it. So then we took care of it together. And then when my department, then PJ was kind of in charge of it by his lonesome. So,
The boardwalk specifically.
yeah.
Because
But
there's a
I
lot
think, I'm going to speak for him. I think he's saying, hey, this is either the schools or somebody,
That's
but
the
it
way
isn't
I read
ours.
it, right. But he's not accepting responsibility for
Yeah.
it, right.
Because all the years I mowed the football field and took care of the grounds and mowed the school land and,
more.
no more. So I think maybe that might be a question coming from him. Hey, if it's you guys, you got to take care of it.
Again, the documentation on that might be in that file cabinet in there.
Is it on school land or town land?
Well, now
Town forest.
now
Town
it's-
forest.
No, I think,
No,
I think the
it's on
school property
school.
goes up that hill a little ways.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
All right. Well, I'll try to sort
I
out
think
some of
it
those questions.
Originally was to
I'll-
do with Ted Nibley's
Yeah, I think that's
science
school
I'll,
land, yeah.
program.
I'll start by calling Ted and seeing
You
what
say
he
you have no
remembers
money.
about all that, and I'll get back to to you all on that, what I learned.
And that could lead into a further discussion with the selectmen, what we're going to do with the common Because recently we assumed that it was our responsibility. The trees on the common were our responsibility. And that
I know
was
that, yeah.
that was taken over by you know who. So
Okay, well,
it was taken over by Hunter. So we had really no
You know,
say in the
there are a
matter.
variety of issues that are coming up
All
that
right.
need to be presented to the board
Correct.
for some discussion
well,
from the board.
I don't want to leave tonight before we talk maybe possibly a little bit more about that too. So I've put that with 12 is who's on the search committee, 13, what about the common? 7 is the vests. Ken, I guess you got some vests for us.
That's some vest.
Yeah.
I've got mine home.
Everybody's go. So they,
Larry has all the vests, right?
Yeah.
a couple of, I don't even remember what meeting it was, we discussed the property and the tags and the vest, and I was gonna look into them the next day and come back with a price, and a week later, I got a phone call, your vests are all done, so. So we have 6 vests that have Newport Conservation Commission and silk screened on the back, and I brought them in the last meeting, I
Yep,
believe,
yes.
and
Now, was that an expenditure from our,
yes, $120, I think it
Yeah.
was.
did that come from our budget?
I would imagine it did.
Hopefully.
I would say
Okay,
so.
do, we, it's sort of going, as a bass backwards, but
Yes, we have backs.
we probably need a vote on the expenditure.
When
But-
you find out
Paul,
through Paul, what do you take it out of?
I'm sure well, it didn't indicate.
Hopefully our 1,500, right?
We have,
Well,
We don't have that anymore?
Might
oh,
only
we
be,
have it, I'm just
good.
but
saying,
it might only be 12.
if you took it out of something else, we'll keep our mouth shut.
All right.
Wow.
I didn't see it on the financial report, so that might be
Yeah.
too soon to have hit that.
Well, I think there's
Yeah.
probably, technically, we probably have to have a vote that we agree to expend money,
How much was the money?
whichever
Well, again,
pot of gold it comes from.
I'd like,
$20
I-
for all 3, for all 6.
But before we get to that,
well, let me just finish on that.
Okay.
I guess I would like to apologize because normally when I went into Dale's painting place and got shirts, they knew that it was what I wanted and they got it done. I indicated that I needed a price and got a phone call they were done because I was going to come back with the price of the vest and the price of the tags to the group so that we could vote on it before we did that. So yes, it ended up to be Bass Ackwood, but
That's okay, I would make a motion that we expend, what is it?
$120
For vests.
6 vests.
a second.
6 vests.
Did we have a second on
Yeah, I'll
that?
second it.
Discussion. This is more,
And I did not hear the amount.
$120.
$120, 20 per
120, thank you.
vest, 6 vest. This is not germane to the expenditure, but it did come up in discussion. How are we going to store these vests? So do we, well, we'll talk about that in a second. All in favor of expending $120 for vests, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Where are we going to, or how should we handle these vests? I've got 5 of them. Gunther has 1. If they're stored here, they may not be available for us if we have a plan to go out and do a survey of land on a weekend. If everybody is issued a vest as people come and people leave the board, they may disappear. They could be kept at one person's home, but that still is sort of like locking them up in Christina's office. So what do people think about how the vest should be sort of stored?
I would assume you would know that you were going to be looking at property at some point.
Probably. There's very,
My original
Unlikely.
thought and discussion would have been that we approve the vests, get the vests made, and that they are stored in her office, but then you could sign them out on a Monday
I have a key.
with anticipation of, you know,
Well, in
I'm
that
not-
case,
Or you could sign them out to every individual now,
Yeah. I would say put them in
And when-
Christina's office,
and
and
when
we
you're-
can get.
when your
if we
time
know
is
we're
up,
gonna
you give the
go,
vest back. So,
you know,
I don't think this
I
needs
saw
a
Hunter's.
vote, but
I saw
probably
Hunter's
just
father-in-law wearing his
consensus.
vest the other day.
Say what?
I mean, see,
Who was in a vest?
you know,
No.
I wouldn't
Gunter.
I wouldn't want to see on Channel 9 Newport Conservation vest in the middle
running
of
from a
bank. I'm sorry.
I think it would be a good idea for each member of the commission to have one to take home with them. And if there is a call for a reason to walk a property, that we each, whoever's on the board has it readily available and can properly identify that they're part of the commission if they go walk a property. And then it should be in writing maybe, that if that person leaves the commission, they should return the vest to the chair or the commission itself.
We have to make sure we get them back.
Yes.
But I think
I think
people, at least amongst this group, are mature enough to return them if they leave.
Something like that, you know, you get on the board, you get a vest and whatever you get. And it's
Everybody,
sometimes
their
when you're
consensus,
done,
that
so-
idea is okay? Okay,
Yeah.
then I'll distribute vests.
Can we get a winter parker too?
Yeah.
Need one.
With a hood.
Yeah, so your name and cost.
Or a badge.
Okay, so the consensus is, well, as people come to the board, they'll be awarded a vest as they leave the board.
They return it.
They can't leave the board until they've returned their vest. Dues and tax statements, this is just informational, well, not completely informational. We got tax statements on 3 properties that the commission apparently oversees.
And we actually own them.
We own them, the commission owns these, which is why we were taxed at $0, by the
I
way.
was going to say it's.
They are three
you get-
three
you get a
parcels that 0.25 acres, 0.6 acres, and 0.5. So a little over an acre and a quarter, acre and a half almost. Land between Chandler's Mills Road and the river. As soon as you get past the last house on the right. So. They're not sequential though. There's a parcel that's not listed. There's 021 on map 240. All of these are on map 234. Lot 19, lot 18, and lot 21. But a lot 20, which
So those, the island that I was talking
no,
about?
these are on the land. These are land.
What map number?
These are
Take these
mainland.
from my list.
Two of them
234, you
are
said, Larry? Map 234?
And they're the,
These are
And then one of them-
mainland between Chandler's Mills Road
Yeah.
and the river.
just after the last house.
The last house on the right is that colonial, and
No, the trailer.
there was a trailer in
Before the trailer is a house. I believe that house separates
Yes.
the parcels. I'm
I
pretty sure.
believe the missing parcel is either the trailer or that the town owns the trailer now.
Could
I
be.
think the
Is that
town
the one
owns
with
the
all the
trailer.
dump stuff?
Yeah,
We own it.
the town owns the trailer, so that's
We're
why I
about to
was
sell it for $1.
We got-
Really?
Why does the
we got-
town own the trailer?
Why do
We
you
took
want
it
to?
over for taxes.
Oh,
A trailer?
and gave it to the
We
conservation
took over the
commission.
land. No.
Hey, we got a clubhouse.
That's right.
If you want it, you can have it.
So one of these
Worth it.
3 lots that
Sense,
we're not taxed on
Yeah.
is the
Right.
trailer. No. If the town owns that, that may be the lot we don't have.
We just
in
took
the
it over.
sequence.
Oh,
Just
so
took
that's
it
not-
over.
Yeah, that's not it.
So that may be 20.
might
That may be 020.
That might be 20.
So these lots really need conservation tags.
Yeah. And we should be monitoring them.
That's right.
Is there a value on there too?
If they go on Avatar, can
11,000,
Yeah.
I wouldn't pay
10,000,
11,000 for it.
10,100.
I tell you what, after the recent
10,100.
rains, he may not even be there.
Yeah. But that trailer, we're putting up
Probably all
for auction.
Really?
We
Is it
give it a-
habitable?
No. The agreement is you'd have to tear down, well, you could
wonder-
leave the structure if you wanted to, because you might have some guy who thinks they can do something with it. That's doubtful. But you can't put a septic system, you can't do much of anything with it.
Yeah, the 3 parcels we own there, you
How much,
couldn't build one.
how much is that valued at?
I don't know the value, but we're ready to give it away for $1.
Why can't you give it, why can't it be?
We don't want it.
No, why don't we
Why-
keep it into these parcels and
Right.
keep it with
When
us?
something
get
goes
rid
for
of
a
it,
dollar,
take it
does
out the
that
taxes.
also include back taxes?
So they'll give it to
What's
us,
that?
and then we
Do
have
back
to
taxes
pay to
go
take
with
care of
that?
it.
Yeah,
No.
usually-
Get rid of that
No.
trailer.
Usually it does, but in this case, we're just so anxious to get rid of it. It's a dump. And so the person that gets it, they'd be required
That's why they're gonna give it to you.
they'd be required to,
Tin Beard.
Clean it up.
It's riverfront property.
yeah.
But you
Well,
can't
how
do
much-
The guy wants to buy it to be able to go fishing.
How many back taxes or,
I don't know.
Earl Wyatt. Anyway.
Okay?
Okay, but for information, we've got those 3 parcels, and the taxes are due.
Long as it says 0.
I'm gonna take this as part of my action
Okay,
assignment.
good.
Where you got properties here.
I will want them back. We probably
Yes, sir.
ultimately will file them.
Yes.
On dues, we got a request to re-up our membership in the New Hampshire Timber Owners Association. I guess we've always done that.
Make a motion.
I'm not sure what,
Timber owners?
Yeah, I never heard that.
No.
Timberland Owners Association.
He may want us to join.
Maybe
don't
they
think
want
so.
us to join. I don't know. I thought this was a.
Part of the-
No.
Why do we want to do that?
Well, I was going to ask in a discussion format, what do they do for us?
Yeah, could
We
I
pay
just see it?
dues to the,
NHACC.
They don't
that's it.
do what we do for them, then we give them, Money.
Their letter sort of suggested that we are already a member. Thank you for being a member.
okay.
Our records show that your annual membership dues
Some phone
membership
letter.
has expired. Your membership dues help provide advocacy programming on behalf of New Hampshire's working force, but we can't do any of this work without members.
So it's $50.
It's 100.
It's a form letter and
That says, we're government, aren't we?
I would vote us in as government.
I would like a motion either that we expend $100 to re-up our membership if we have been members, or the motion would be that we
I make a
don't
motion
go
that
with
we
it this
do
year.
not-
I'll second that.
Okay.
Do not become a
Any discussion about that motion on the table? Motion is that we're voting to not renew our membership
or join.
or join. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, so it's unanimous. We are not going to re-up our membership or get duped
Or
into or join if this is some kind of mail fraud scam.
Scam. The scam.
We're being scammed. They know we're all probably AARP members, and this is one of those great scams they pull on AARP people.
I am AARP.
So am I. That's 50.
I told AMAC, screw it.
Number 9, monitoring of the wells and yeoman's easements. That we've already covered that. We're going to do that in the fall.
Yeah.
And at that time, we'll do the notorious Raymond Holden property at the same time and put up tanks.
Yeah.
Okay, good. NRI. I put point person because this is I don't know. I'll put it out for discussion. Do we think it would be easier to have one person who's really Jeff Littleton or Moosewood's go-to person for communications and things to get time set up? Because he sent out an email. He's very willing to. In fact, I think on his email he said he'd like to be here probably at our September meeting
Yeah, I think that was.
to do some, start the groundwork. Not groundwork, but lay the plans for what's going to happen. Do we think it would be useful to have a point person, mostly
I think
for
that's a
him
good
to
idea.
contact?
I would assume that it would be the chairman,
So would I.
and then,
Being a
No,
chairman
I
of
mean-
another committee, everything seems to be headed to
I
him.
know.
I was going to.
all kidding aside.
I was going to submit for your approval that Don has got
Oh, kidding
built up
aside.
a nice relationship with
Really?
this
I don't mind
guy.
doing that.
Don said he doesn't mind doing it.
No, but that's what I was gonna say. I think it should be like chairman, and then you could either delegate somebody or at least let everybody
I
else
delegate.
know.
No.
And then, it might be that 2 or 3 of you were able to get a meeting, but I think it should be one contact person.
We may need a subcommittee for that
And
project. Ultimately, we need to talk to Jeff and kind of get it.
Yeah.
I think he wants. So I think the point of meeting with us on the 20th is to discuss with us the process, and we could decide at that point. So we may need to make a decision that, because we need to reply to him, Larry, this email.
Say what? I'm not completely sure. I'll go back and reread it.
He
and I'll-
said, "Should we shoot for your 9:20 meeting?"
Okay, well then I'm going to
He's
invite
looking
him.
for an answer.
All
So
right.
that's September?
Yeah.
It's the English language. I get all confused with it.
maybe you shouldn't be the point person.
I'll respond and invite Jeff Littleton to our September meeting, and hopefully most of that agenda we can really work with him about our plans, and probably at that time we'll recommend to him that we'll either have a point person, maybe a subcommittee that will be working with Moosewood if we move forward.
If I may, he said we can, at the meeting, we can discuss the project, the timeline, the deliverables, and the field work for next spring.
Well, cool.
So, he's going to go through the whole,
Right,
So that should be all we do
in September.
Yeah.
in September.
Unless we have anything pressing, that will be most of our meeting in September.
Ken and I will not be available in October. So,
Okay. So September works
Going on a
really.
trip?
Yeah.
It getting, where?
Italy?
for the whole month.
Oh, have you
Okay,
been?
we're going to
before?
put that on as number
What a
14.
great
We're
place.
going to talk
2
about
weeks.
Italy. Okay, so we're going to devote as much time, and if it's our exclusive topic in September, it will be about the NRI.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
All right, good. Okay, future topics and initiatives. When I put this out, Don reminded me that during your tenure in the chair, Barry, we developed a priority list. And actually didn't do too badly. The minutes from July 20th, 22, land conservation, review of conservation land boundaries, LCHIP. I'm not sure completely what we did there, but we did some of that
Did
at
some.
least.
No, we did it.
Money line item, we got that. We've got a budget. Land conservation fund, purchase land. I'm not sure we did much with that. Operating budget. I'm not sure if we got a budget, but we certainly got a
Yeah,
line
money.
item.
Yeah, got a line
We
item.
are in
That's a budget.
They're going to fund it from our conservation fund.
NRI. Focus on wetlands. Meet with planning board, develop relationship.
You're doing that.
Sort of. And as an aside, I was going to go to the planning board meeting last week, and I just plumb forgot that night. And I was home when I should have been at the meeting. Public relations and education, we did a little bit of that maybe, but that's something we probably want to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Conservation district ordinance.
So that's what we were talking about, the properties that
Right.
the town owns and has listed them in this ordinance as conservation properties.
I would, Linda, I think you'd be a good person to go to Paul and say, this is what we want to do. And
Okay.
we've got these properties, because it's a different tenor now. I mean,
Right.
I'll be honest with you, before, I always felt that we were being held as outsiders.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
And,
were.
a threat.
but that was my own thoughts. But I had some evidence towards that.
Most town managers don't like conservation commissions.
That's correct.
Because they cannot hold anything.
I was
They're
told
not
it's
accountable
because
for
we
the
take
money.
away their power to a
Exactly,
certain extent.
that's what I said, you
Yeah.
take away their power.
Yeah, that's what I was told. Not by our town manager, but
So-
by our present town manager.
To expand on that, what did we mean by conservation district ordinance?
There's a conservation district ordinance.
Yeah.
But did that mean on our priority list that we wanted to,
I think it was to do with monitoring them.
okay, monitoring,
Right.
okay. Because,
Several of them are on the, at least two of them are along the railroad bed,
Right.
and they're kind of out
Small.
in the middle of, there's no abutters. One of them, the river abuts.
well, is that what we take from this number 5, conservation district ordinance, that last year in July we were talking about monitoring them, or?
Well, we're looking again for clarity as to what we do and what we should be
Yeah.
doing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then
all right,
that's sort of, we'll put that all in Linda's
okay.
bailiwick, including if we should start thinking about an annual walkabout on these properties
Oh,
or
yeah,
something.
definitely.
Okay.
If
But
you
I
want-
guess
If you want me to go with you, I'll go with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be, what is the definition of a district ordinance? Because to me, that's different than separate parcels all over the place.
It is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, to be honest with you, I probably wrote it down, but I don't know what the hell I meant by it.
Yeah.
Well, the
And-
ordinance lists the properties by lot numbers, I
Okay.
think, or map numbers.
So if you go, you're saying if we went on the town website and looked up, there's a
Zoning-
whole
zoning ordinance?
booklet of ordinances, or, oh, it's in the zoning ordinances.
It's
Well,
in the zoning
Well,
ordinance?
I don't
maybe
think-
you can,
If you go on the town's website, one of the planning or zoning, I can't remember which,
Okay.
has ordinances listed.
Yep.
Not both. One of them has it. And there's a conservation district in one of the ordinances.
All right.
Okay.
So I'll
It lists-
try to get a
it lists those
definition.
specific properties.
Good.
okay.
Oh, all right.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah, good.
Zoning would be zoning.
All right,
Thought it
well,
was on it.
Yeah. that's-
that will be part of the business for next month then.
All right.
Okay, so that is a sort of a entry point to what do we want to also add or delete, well, not delete, but what do people want to do this year or would like to see as initiatives this year?
For me, town common. I really would like clarification from the selectmen. Whose responsibility?
Yeah, because I'll be honest with you, right up front, I was told, I always thought it was our responsibility.
Exactly.
To the common.
Always
But then I
thought the
was
same.
told, no,
Right,
it has nothing to do with you.
right.
Okay.
Well, our very first meeting, Hunter sat here and told us that
Nope,
we had nothing to do with it.
right.
But he did say that we had
Input.
on the types of trees.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, the impetus for that came from us anyway.
Absolutely.
Well,
My only-
again, not to keep hashing it over, what I was going back, I was bringing to the group when I was going back to helping out with the Conservation Commission on the Common. I wasn't doing it as groundskeeper. I was helping them. And then Cliff sat here and told us they were part of some of the oak trees that they planted as a Conservation Commission back in 65 or 7 when
When it was
it
a tree
started.
committee.
At the very least, we need
So,
to make
clarity.
aware
So again, clarity.
to the board and to the town manager what the requirements are for keeping up with the trees.
Because
Exactly.
right now,
We don't
we've
want
fallen
that.
behind.
Hmm.
Yep.
You know, I asked when the town manager was here, where are we? Because I know there was a 3-year plan.
Right.
We've got at least 2 trees left to trim or cut to take down. We've got fertilizing. We've got
Aerating.
aeration. There's a lot of things that are going to drop by the
Wayside.
wayside now.
So I guess I'm sorry, but for me, I guess I want a definite clarification from the selectmen what our role is,
But
how much.
Okay. So
Now,
we could do
Can I-
that in what you're proposing with all the properties too. I mean, we could.
Yeah, roll that
if
in.
Well,
you,
it's a number, wait, we have a
It's
number
a-
of questions.
It's another, again,
Larry,
it's clarity and another.
we're not meeting for a couple of weeks. Okay, we're not going to meet our
the
first.
BOS,
Yeah, the first
Monday,
Monday. We're going to the second Monday and fourth Monday.
just for
next month.
the
Yeah.
for summer holidays and all. Okay,
Yeah.
2nd and 4th, all right.
Well, and also we aren't going to have a lot of people there. People are on vacation and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you would send me a message, however you want to do it, and I will talk to Joanne and have that put on the agenda,
Okay.
rather than have it be happenstance, which happened with the last one. We get it on the agenda.
I'm gonna. I'll recognize Don. Then I want to throw something. Don.
Oh, I was just, my thinking is that we don't want responsibility for the trees. We want to have input. And the reason I say that is we don't want to expend funds out of our budget to maintain those trees unless we're given the money by the town.
Well,
And that was a good point on Hunter's part when he did sit here that night. Was he said you should be saving your money in your conservation fund for buying conservation properties.
Yeah, that's they
That-
were taking
that-
money out of
that
it.
was a good point.
Which brings me to a question, but yeah, it could, I don't want to put
It's the
into
wording.
it, it's the wording and the clarification, I think, that we need.
Yeah,
And that's
I
what
want to add, I want to talk to the board about the 3-year plan that we have and who is going to monitor the fact that that's done. We have input into the trees. I'm not sure, you got to be careful. The town common is going to become a very big issue.
Yeah, because of the parking.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this year, quite frankly, the board said, leave it like it is. So that's where we are.
So I would.
is there?
I would
I'm going
think
to
that-
ask a question first, and then something I want to say. Is there a document, or is there in print from minutes of a meeting what the 3-year plan was?
Well, we had the arborists.
you know,
Yeah.
Okay.
The contract that they signed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
And
signed a contract.
okay, so that should be available somewhere, right?
right.
We
Well,
won't
Kenny
be
and
able-
Linda
Yeah.
had obtained that from the
Do
arborist.
you have a copy of it?
I can locate
We
it.
haven't-
If you
But-
could scan it in and
Because I'll
mail
just
it
talk
out,
about
I'd be interested in reading it.
Yeah, but Hunter took it all away, so I'm not sure what he signed.
What do you mean, took what away? Took the,
Took the whole responsibility. I haven't talked to the arborist in
We
a year or two.
well.
He took it away.
Yeah, so that
But
doesn't mean
he
it has
didn't
to
take
continue.
Right.
he didn't take the contract, he took the responsibility.
And the
away.
contract.
And the
He
contract.
signed the contract. He
And
signed
he,
the contract.
he initiated the first.
So the contract you saw was not a signed contract?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was,
Hunter executed the first year of the plan. He
Okay.
had that executed.
But Linda's suggesting that we don't know what that contract and
I don't
plan
think
was.
I ever saw the
If
final.
the town is going to continue with that, we need, our responsibility would to be monitoring the fact that somebody's doing something about it.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's what I think we're looking for is
Yeah.
the clarity, so that if a new town manager comes in, you've got a group that still can continue on with a project.
Right.
Well, and that's where
So
I
not
was going to try to
necessarily
comment,
Have to
but I can't
plant
get a
and
word
pay for the
in
trees.
here edgewise. Like, before Don, I think it'd be worth getting a consensus. But I'm throwing out as devil's advocate, why do we care about the common? We got other lands we got to keep track of. We got other initiatives maybe. Do we care about the common?
Why are we worried about a gravel bank?
Well, because it's impacting the natural
If
resources.
you ask me, but that seems to be more our purview and the
So
stuff
that's-
that I
yeah,
think
well,
we really ought to be doing.
So that's a personal feeling to you. That's got nothing to do with the
I'm just throwing this
conservation.
out as
And I'm just
devil's
trying
advocate.
I'm just
so.
trying to answer it.
Yeah.
I think
And
we're,
I think what she's saying is that
But you're answering with a question. Answer with a
I'm
statement.
right at home here, like the select
You
board.
can't answer a question with a question. That's
I
not
think we're
triggering
trees.
a debate.
I think we're trees.
I think we
Where
can, at this
trees and
point, we
wetlands.
continue with the trees.
the
I would-
contract.
The contract with the trees. We should keep up on what is being said about the common.
Correct.
But other than that,
I'd like to get a consensus then from the commission, and I'd like the consensus to be: do we want full control? Do we want to be, as Don said or suggested, add advisory? What is the consensus of the board? The role we want to play in the town common?
I'd vote for advisory
I
simply
agree.
because it's, first of all, if we take over that common, any money we have is going to be gone. Okay? And I think we can highly recommend that if something's going to happen there, that, they keep the Conservation Commission aware. of
I
what's
see as
going on.
advisory, our ability to put pressure on people, those responsible, to keep moving forward on a 3-year plan. But I also can see as advisory things getting done that we have, just end run around us, because that's not uncommon also, is it? I think so.
Yeah, you get too much into it, you're going to have concerns about donkeys, you're going to have concerns about cars parking, which we're working hard to stop cars going on there.
Right.
But we are allowing donkeys to go on there.
I just think it needs,
Yeah, fertilizer.
my opinion is, I think we just need a more collegiate working relationship.
There's no
with-
reason why we can't work together.
That's right. I mean, we're not opposing
No.
anything. I just think that our
But
roles need
so
to
it would be advisory, that they need to advise us, and we would offer our opinions as to what goes on. They can tell us to pound sand, but we
Okay,
still can offer an
so
opinion.
I don't know that this it needs a vote, but I think I want to just sort of state for the record, it seems the consensus is that we'd like to have an advisory capacity on the town common.
Fair to me.
And that
A
advisory
legitimate-
capacity
a legitimate one.
is exercised.
Yeah. Okay.
How do we start from here? Should we go to the board or write to the board?
I think,
There may be things.
yeah, don't ask permission
Yeah.
to be advisory. Just say we are going to function as an advisory
At some point, we should have the board go back and look at that 3-year plan. Then I think.
next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Next meeting.
I'll ask them.
I mean, in my
Well, the
mind,
contract
the idea would
and the
be
contract with who was the arborist?
Gwen
Gallagher.
Gallagher.
Gwen Gallagher.
the idea would be for us to take that plan
That's
to the
right.
select board
That's right.
and say this has
Yeah,
dropped.
because it was never, well, it might have been, but I don't remember or recall, that it was ever really voted on by the board or mentioned to the board. So that would be a good time to do that. The board
Good.
needs to be aware of that.
Does somebody want to volunteer to try to dredge up that contract?
I'll dredge the contract out.
Okay, good. Thanks, Linda.
But you gotta remind me prior to the meeting, because I get so much thrown at me.
I've got 2 reminders for you so far.
So, the
And
two
I'm
of
old, I
you?
forget stuff.
That Barry will bring to the board the contract
Okay.
and where are we at moving forward on the 3-year plan.
So I have to get you the contract?
Yeah.
Okay,
Please, that would be great.
okay.
Good, thanks, Linda.
You might consider contacting Mr. Gallagher and asking him for a copy.
He probably has a copy.
And not try and go through an office or go
Yeah.
to different
Okay.
people that work for the town, because he'll have
It
a
would
copy.
be a lot
Yeah.
easier.
And
Yeah.
if it's
Good.
not what
That's a good,
you originally talked to him about,
Right,
then go from there.
sounds
Change
good.
it.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sounds
and,
good.
And, I think the reason it is where it is because that's the way the town manager wanted it at
Right.
the time. Doesn't mean it has to stay that way.
okay, great.
Good, thanks. So this started with future topics, initiatives. Anybody else have things that they'd like us to move forward on?
Are we, can I ask a question? Are we doing anything with the master plan at this point? Aside from Gunter and I went to the meeting and interjected. But beyond that,
I think we're doing our part through the NRI. And that would become what we would submit as a master plan, and we may want to add something to it. But actually, I think we're way ahead of everybody else. Biddy wants to do something for the master plan for the Heritage
yeah,
Commission.
right, she mentioned that. Yeah.
So, we're ahead of the game.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, the planning board is planning on writing their own, which
The planning board is ultimately the authors of the,
yes, they are.
or
And
they sub it out.
we're responsible more to the planning board than we are to the town government.
So I don't know how to answer your question or discuss it further, Don, other than I think right now, at least until September, we know our timeline for the
Yeah.
NRI, I would think. Other topics or initiatives for the coming year?
I think we should finish tagging some of the properties, or make sure that the properties under our jurisdiction are tagged.
And future jurisdictions.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, the Wells property has not been done.
Wells has not been tagged?
And we put up one tag on a corner.
Anything else? Don?
Public relations,
Uh-huh.
do we have an action plan for that? We talk about it a lot, and we've written a few articles. The articles I find are time consuming. Do we have an action plan? That would be my next question. Or just to kind of randomly write an article here or there when the spirit moves us every couple of years or something?
Do we want to plan an event?
We had talked about possibly conducting a walk through the town forest as an event. I don't think we've really expended much more energy in developing that.
Just
We could have a meeting and kind of dress it up a little bit, put some lipstick on a pig, and have somebody come and talk about conservation. What's the guy we have that's over in Claremont?
Lionel. I think.
Lionel.
Yeah, Lionel's great.
Yeah.
Why don't we,
Some topics,
try
I
to
think.
get some people out
Yeah,
I
to
think-
come to a meeting. We'll serve some refreshments and talk about what concerns about conservation in the area.
yeah, along those lines, Doug Gladder's the gentleman we met with.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
He offered to come and do
Dota's great.
talks. I don't know if anybody went to I remember from our last meeting, it was noted that there was a discussion at the Library Arts Center on invasive plants,
Natives.
natives, and the whole.
Natives.
And
And
we could have helped with that.
Yeah, I went
that
to
would have made sense for us
Yeah.
to be involved with that, or at least
Yeah.
initiating it.
So I think we could set some events in place.
Well, I'm not sure, okay, well, we'll just put it on an action item, at
Yep.
least for tonight.
Okay.
And then, or, initiatives. Any other initiatives?
Yeah, back to the town manager selection.
Not yet,
Committee.
that was 12.
Oh, excuse
Okay.
me.
I'd like us to start thinking about land parcels for acquisition.
I know one for $1.
It's $1, but it's going to cost you at least $15,000 to clean that goddamn mess up. So
There are some parcels up abutting the town forest and the Johnson and Barton properties that might be worth, approaching people for easements.
Kenny's got one.
Yeah, you can buy mine.
There's actually a piece of land that is kind of interesting to me across from the health center, across Elm Street. So it would be west of the Sugar River. New London Hospital owns some land, and I think it's mostly wetlands, but I think it'd be a nice piece of land to try to get an easement on. One second. Yeah, I think that's all I had to add. John?
A couple of things. One, if you bought that property, you'd have a place to put your vests. But seriously, I know that, and I talked with Peter Franklin about this, and I don't know if I mentioned it to anybody else, but he has a lot of land that he's wondering about an easement. And I don't know if you've got a hold of him.
And I went out and talked to him just after you had brought it to the board, and he was
Too vague?
he was unsure what he was doing because he wanted to talk to his daughter, and
All right.
I told him I would help out with it, and I've stopped once or twice since. And,
Oh, okay.
but
It's too vague. Because I
it's worth
meet
maybe
with him
somebody else
regularly, and
approaching him. I don't
he
know,
mentioned
but
it, he doesn't know what he wants to do with the land, but he needs to do something with it.
he wants to give it to the daughter, but he doesn't know that the daughter wants to come here. And I
Right.
said, there's many ways that we can write into this, whatever you want.
That's what I was telling
And
him.
he, so I left it with it. He was going to talk to his daughter.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll push him along.
Yeah,
Nice.
I wouldn't,
But
I didn't want to do that.
no, but I can't. I've
Yeah.
somebody, I have a relationship.
Yeah, I know.
but if there are land parcels around town that people know of, it might not be bad practice. It might be a good thing to just compile a list of properties we might be interested in.
The NRI will help with that.
Yeah.
And, there's Roy
Good
Malou,
thought.
too. I don't know what the status of
Yeah.
his
right.
properties. And
Okay.
I could recontact Jolyon Johnson, too.
Is he think not sure what he wants to do with some of his land?
His kids, he and his two nephews have the property beyond the Johnson property.
On the backside of Coy Mountain. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
that's a good
It's
thought.
like 500 acres or something.
He wanted a lot of money, or they did, not him.
Part and parcel of that, and I don't think we're quite ready, but someday I think we got to think about how we acquire more funds for purposes like this.
Right.
And that would be like, someday thinking
Well, there
about
are
approaching the town for.
Untapped resources that are coming into the town that are going to the general fund that should be going, what is it, a tree tax or something? I think.
Yeah.
Moose Plate?
Well, or the moose plate,
Well, in a lot of towns, some
timber tax.
portion.
timber tax. That's what I was trying to
Some
say.
portion of timber tax
Yeah.
in many towns.
Because I brought that up earlier. It did not go over that well.
Yeah. So, and I don't think we're positioned yet to actually go to the board to ask, or go to the voters with a warrant, but down the road, I think we got to think about.
Yep, I like that.
That and the current use.
I was trying to think of that.
Funds.
Yeah, current
Yeah,
use.
land use change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now Linda, 12, conservation.
Yeah, Barry. How come we're
Well,
not?
it was never brought up that we should have a person on the conservation, from the Conservation Commission. I'd be more than happy to bring that up to Paul. And,
Cool.
you know, at this point, it's still, the citizens are set. There are other
Yeah.
parts that are still fluid
Okay.
that are there, so.
I mean, it just would be nice to be recognized as part of.
I
you
can
know?
bring that up. In fact, I'm not meeting with him tomorrow. I am Friday.
Okay. Cool.
Trying not to meet with him tomorrow. Every day I'm here, so.
There was one other thing you wanted to talk about.
Was the town common?
Comment, okay. We've talked
Got that
through
covered.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, any other business people want to bring up? Done.
Budget report,
Oh, budget report.
Review?
Today, yeah.
because I noticed there's a sizable chunk of money that's coming out of it.
Why?
Do you have a public participation moment?
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Open
I
forum.
guess.
Go ahead, go for it.
May I speak?
Yes, John Lund.
I'm curious about if anybody has looked at those poor trees on the North Newport Cemetery that are along the road that were planted. A couple of them look like they're in terrible shape. I don't know if that's anything you have.
They need to be trimmed.
Oh, the oak trees on Oak Street there?
Yeah, on Oak Street that are inside the cemetery. The newer fence that were planted there. They look terrible.
They need to be
That-
trimmed and they need to be fertilized and
But
they
that's
need
the
to be
town.
cut.
That's a town issue.
Is it? Oh, okay. I didn't know
I
if that-
planted them.
It has been mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Next year I was going, but yeah, there was a plan.
Okay.
So they need to be trimmed.
That has been mentioned and probably ought to be mentioned again. If you remind me.
See, we need a tree manager. We need a manager who likes trees.
Okay.
My request.
Right now, I just want somebody who can do the job. And Paul is doing the job.
Okay, Don brought up the budget. Yeah, this just came in today or yesterday on an email.
I just saw it this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd table it till next month, except you were talking about an expenditure that's coming out.
Well, it says due to the general fund, 1355.
And that's always a mystery to me.
Exactly.
Because,
Why is that?
you know, the rationale I get behind it is, well, at this time, we didn't take it out. So now we get hit with this heavy bill. There's always an explanation, but it isn't clear on this.
I don't see that number on the
It isn't
the
there.
document.
It's going to come out.
It's on the one I got.
It is. I thought you said it was going to come out.
1355 due to general fund. That's
Yeah.
He did say he would
Yeah,
execute
what
that
does it
next month.
encompass?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's kind of my
Yeah,
question.
but
But I don't know what it's for. And this is about every time we get a financial report, there's an amount of money that goes back to the general fund. But the rationale is, you owed for this, we paid for it, and it builds up.
it'd be nice.
You know,
It almost requires
kind of dues.
Requires a vote from us.
well, we can
invoices so we know what we're paying.
It also requires a vote from us to expend the money. And that's not happening.
But that's our line item budget.
But still, we vote on that.
Right.
We vote, when things are taken out of a budget, it should be, the direct order should be that the Conservation Commission votes to expend the money. And the town then expends the money.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to happen that way, so.
And our line item became effective June 1, is that correct?
Correct.
Or July 1.
July 1. Yeah.
So these might be expenses that were incurred in the last fiscal year.
But I want to know
What
what
were
they are.
they?
Oh, sure, I'm with you on
I
that.
asked, I've asked, what is it? And Paul always has an explanation as to what it's for.
I think it was some of the dues.
Yeah, but not 1,300.
Yeah, there was something in the email he sent,
Yeah.
and I didn't print it out. But I think it had something to do with the dues, the different, for us being Conservation Commission,
Yeah.
as part of the New
I mean,
Hampshire.
we can,
But that's only $300.
He said, so
Yeah,
this
but-
is similar to the one we got last
that's correct.
time.
That's correct.
Please note that blah, blah, blah is due to the general fund. This amount represents 4 years of association dues and 1 training class.
That's it.
Well, every report I've seen has a chance for association dues. So how could it be 4 years if we've been paying it for 4 years? It's very confusing.
I think it raises a question, and it also raises an appropriate procedure to, if they want to expend money, they're not in line to just say, we're going to take that money. We should be the ones that initiate that procedure. That's my thought.
Agreed. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aye.
But we do vote on the dues, though, every year. Just
But this has got to be more than dues.
it is
yeah.
correct.
I'm just curious if, is that what, has somebody been paying your timber dues for that club you just decided not to?
We would pay the due. Eventually, it would come out from us.
But, so nobody's been a membership for that thing that you just got
He's
the,
talking about the timber
bill for it.
timber
Yeah.
owners
Timber Owners
Association.
Association. Well,
I don't
that's
think
worth
so.
investigating.
We don't know.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's been paid, that's been paid and they want, by the town or something.
Yeah.
Without us knowing.
These are Paul has good explanations, but it does seem odd to me that the same thing, last time it was 4 years. Well, 4 years haven't gone by. Why are we dealing with that? Or pay it on a monthly basis, or pay it when it comes out. I mean, that's a lot of money to just say all of a sudden it's going to the general fund.
Yeah.
Well, there's no transparency.
Right.
Yeah.
But Paul can tell us. He will. He's very capable of telling us where it came from.
Okay, well, we'll look into that. Okay, any other business? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I wonder why they ran that twice.